50% of the growth today comes from new brands. A lot of examples of emerging brands who have been laser focused on one or two opportunity spaces, demand spaces, as where they go after specific occasions, go after specific cohort along with whom you would enjoy that. And these moments of enjoyment where they have gone through that and then they've created an amazing brand for themselves.
Today on the show, I have Kaushik Boruah. He is head of CPG and Hospitality at LatentView.
I would like to call myself as an analytics translator. A lot of CPG companies that we work with, these are all household names. What they use us for is to solve specific, sometimes fuzzy business problems. In the areas of R&D and innovation, if you think about CPG, that's where they create these amazing brands. The industry has moved in a really different space today. We don't realize that it was just 5 years back that we had COVID and there was almost flat for CPG companies in a way that innovation used to happen. You have got inflation coming up and down like never before. You've got major trade tariffs, and then you have on top of that AI coming in and then changing the way how consumers now discover your products.
On the flip side, a lot of small brands are like, I need a better ROAS, I need all these things. And that's not necessarily wrong, but you get so hyper-focused on efficiency, you lose that ability to have some ubiquity.
And what does it mean for brands? And that's
I was just going to say, legacy brands, are they going to be able to keep up with those trends? Hey everyone, I'm Michael Marr, the host of The Longer Game, a podcast that talks all about the future of retail. Brick and mortar, direct-to-consumer, Amazon. If it's driving retail forward, we talk about it here on the show. Make sure to subscribe to catch every episode on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And before we dive in, I just want to say thank you. Every listen, every share, all of those conversations, they mean a lot to us and they help us get our message heard. Retail is evolving very quickly. You've been along for the ride, and I appreciate you for being here. All right, let's get into it. Welcome, everybody, to Season 4 of The Longer Game. We are now in the thick of Season 4. Well, technically, I think this is probably going to be Episode 2. So we're not in that thick, but we're in Season 4, and can't even believe that we're in Season 4, which is kind of crazy to think about, that this started a couple years ago and has turned into something. And we talk about retail here. That means a lot of different things. And today on the show, we are going to talk about all the things. Actually, we're really going to talk about whatever we want to talk about, because it's my podcast and I get to set the rules and nobody tells me what to do. But today on the show, I have Kaushik Boruah. He is head of CPG and Hospitality at LatentView. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about what he does. But welcome to the show, Kaushik. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Michael. It's a pleasure. I have been listening to some of the episodes and some really interesting, rich content that you discuss here, some pertinent ones as well, as we look to find sources where we can understand a little bit about the industry as well. So thanks so much for inviting me, and I'm just excited to be sort of going through this.
Thanks. That was very kind of you. I don't know that it was that great, but if you thought it was great, then we might get a testimonial from you
It's just being humble.
for
Yeah.
the podcast. The thing
Yeah.
that I've liked about this podcast is, let's be honest, it's a way to create content. I'm recording this live, or not live, but I'm recording this and I realize this is going to go out to people. This is a way to create content. However, it's become a conversation between real practitioners of people. My focus is always, how do I help people to win on Amazon? But I've had lots of really smart people on this show that bring really interesting perspectives that apply to what brands are doing in retail. And it has come from people who I did not even expect that there would be relevancies. And a great example would be someone last season who he wrote a book called Red and Blue Customers. And it was not about political, although a lot of times these people align politically, but it was about people who had a more conservative view of the world and a more liberal. And at a base level, conservative just means like the tried, the true, the proven. Like, I don't want to try anything new. Liberal's like, I'm open. Open to trying new things. And he just basically said, like, your customers lean one way no matter what. And you often have a lot of that data available to you, but a lot of people don't know that. And they're like trying to push a more liberal view on a conservative audience, or a conservative view on a liberal audience, and they're totally screwing it up. And it's like things like that I was just so surprised by, but it was like such a great conversation and stuff that I can even take and think about, like, are we going, and like at a base level, are we going after the right customers? We're going after the right clients. Or are we trying to go after something and be something that we're not? So uh, it has been a cool conversation to be here to be had on the show and see that evolve, which has been cool. So I do appreciate that. What do you do for work at Kaushik? I mean, not at Kaushik, at LatentView. I know the words.
Yeah. So I would like to call myself as an analytics translator. That's what I
Ooh,
am.
okay.
Uh, a lot of CPG companies that we work with, these are all household names. What they use us for is to solve specific, sometimes fuzzy business problems in the areas of R&D and innovation. If you think about CPG, that's where they create these amazing brands that all of us love. Then it's about supply chain. How do you ensure that those products then
Hmm.
they reach the shelf? What kind of manufacturing, inventory, logistics, all of that. And then there is a lot of activity around marketing, brand building. Today there is, of course, a lot of discussion around agentic AI and AI being incorporated to make our brands more memorable to the consumers. And then the last aspect is about commercialization. When Michael or Kaushik enters the brick and mortar store, how do their brands speak about themselves so that we can pick those specific brands in the ocean of thousand other brands that exist, right? So there are specific problems that companies are looking to solve and address as they all chase volumes today. The last couple of years haven't been kind to a lot of CPG companies. And it is in those moments when they seek some external help. And we often are those partners who kind of try and connect the business problems with some of the latest and greatest analytical tools or models that we can create for them to sort of solve those use cases. That's what we do.
I think the legacy brands have gotten really good at a couple of things, and then there are a couple of things that they've lagged behind on, which
Yeah.
has made an opening for some smaller to mid-sized brands to come in and take category share. And I think
Oh,
some of the things that
absolutely.
they've done really well, research and development. I mean, they study the heck out of this stuff. Is this the right formulation? They've got the compliance stuff down because they know that they'll be a big target. Whereas like a brand that's doing under 1 million, they mess something up on a formulation or something's not necessarily approved right away from the FDA. Like it's not gonna. I mean, it might really hurt their company, but they're not gonna get the kind of visibility that at Johnson and Johnson, if they mess up, they're going to show up in the news and people are going to target them because they're a big player. Just like Amazon always shows up in the
Yeah.
news, or uh, you know, Elon Musk shows them in the news because they're just big players. So it's like easy targets. They're in the space, but they got research and development down really well. They've got logistics and supply chain down really well. I mean, like really, they've got it on lock. And then the commercialization piece, as well as the brand building. And also, I would just say the building the brand, like from a design and avatar and package standpoint, like how is this view, like all those things, but also building a brand and leaning into bigger media types, like running TV ads, and even if it could be connected TV now, but like being more of a focusing on building ubiquity for your brand name.
And omnipresence.
Yes, they have done really well at that, which on the flip side, a lot of small brands are like, "I need a better ROAS, I need all these things." And that's not necessarily wrong, but you get so hyper focused on, efficiency, you lose that ability to have some ubiquity, and it still takes time. A
Yeah.
Coca-Cola or a P&G has not become these household names in 10 years. It's been
Yeah.
100 in some cases. And they've also had brand acquisition. So there's a lot that goes there, but there's a lot of things that they've done really well.
Yeah.
However, they've left an opening for some other brands
Yeah.
in, I think, sometimes what channels they decide to focus on, innovation on their products. You and I start a company right now, and we find out that, and I'm not saying we will, but if
Yeah.
you wanted to, I'm open to it. If you got ideas, you just tell me.
Yeah.
You seem like a smart dude, so
Absolutely.
I would be more than happy to do that with you. But you and I find out something wrong with our product,
Yes.
we could go back to and reformulate in a
True.
week or two. These big companies, they're going to take months, years.
That's exactly the issue that we see across these legacy brands. Uh, just to put some numbers to what you just stated
Yeah.
now,
Oh, good. We're going to get some actual
yeah,
info behind it.
60% of the growth today comes from new brands.
Mm.
And these are brands without any parent holding company. I don't know if you've seen this one slide which shows 10 CPG brands control almost 80% of or 90% of what you eat or use, consume almost on a daily basis, right? So these are the likes of Unilever, P&G, Coke, Pepsi, etc. Now, but then there were a lot of examples of emerging brands who have been laser focused on one or two, I would say, opportunity spaces, demand spaces, as they would like to call it, where they go after specific occasions, go after specific cohort along with whom you would enjoy that, and these moments of enjoyment where they have gone through that and then they've created an amazing brand for themselves, right? You see some of these acquisitions coming in the last couple of years, largely because some of them have gone very heavy on healthier drinks. So today, when you think about healthier drinks, it's not just about a little bit of uh, plant-based ingredients or something which had vitamins or minerals, which used to be the case 5 years back.
It's like total
But now,
functionality change.
yes, now you're talking about protein being injected, not just in there, but also in chips,
Yeah.
right? You're talking about specific products which have macronutrients mentioned on their labels. You have
Never
all
would have
sorts
been
of other.
done unless the government had regulated it from a big company.
Exactly, right? So the industry has moved in a really different space today. The We don't realize that it was just 5 years back that we had COVID, and there was this one trend that was almost flat for CPG companies in a way that innovation used to happen. But there was this one major black swan event, and then now, if you look at the previous 5 years, it's a whole different game, right? Your consumer behavior has been shifting like never before. You have got inflation coming up and down like never before. You've got major trade tariffs and all sorts of other things which are making companies rethink about where should they manufacture, should they have strategic deals with specific countries, etc., etc. So I mean, it's a whole different level, and then you have on top of that AI coming in and then changing the way how consumers now discover your products, right?
Yeah.
Those days are gone when you used to just rely on a Google search, or maybe you used to almost have majority of a focus on Amazons and Walmarts,
I
right?
still
There
use
are
the newspaper, so I have no idea what you're talking about. I use the yellow pages to find all my.
that's almost like you've been under the rock, right?
It's like
So
the cheapest ads you could probably buy right now would be the yellow
yeah,
pages. I don't know who's going to see them,
that's
but
true.
they'd be super
That's
cheap.
true. That's
Impressions
true.
would be very low, but the CPMs are like 0.001
Absolutely.
for
So
sure.
that's a contrarian trait, and it might be successful, and that's how it's happening, right? So all of us are so glued to our phones and digital devices. I think there's a population out there who's seeking for complete
So
isolation.
that's
A lot
actually
of
what I've heard is that some of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So my daughter is like first year in Gen Alpha, which is kind
right.
of crazy. And I think Gen Beta is coming up, which
Yeah.
is even more crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that generation is seeking more analog things because of
Mm.
not just the novelty, but because of the ability to disconnect. And
Right.
if I'm honest, I don't really want to be on social media. I don't. I don't want to. Now I do it because it's relevant for my business and
Yeah.
it's helpful, but there are many times when so like this past year, my family and I started practicing an actual Sabbath. It's an opportunity to separate from the world and get closer to God. What does that mean? We get to set our own rules. We are Christians. We're not Jewish, but we're taking that practice
Yeah.
because we were made to rest. I believe that it was really important
Yeah.
that we rest. So we
Yeah.
start our weeks with rest. One of the things that we don't do, like I might need to message somebody, hey, on my phone, I'm gonna like, we'll meet you at this place if we know that we're doing something. But I really try
Yeah.
not to be on my phone. And I don't really take pictures of anything that I do on that day because I would just want to remember it up here. I don't need to
Yeah.
like I like to take pictures
True.
of things so that I can go back
Yeah.
and check them out. And like I had a video of my daughter when she was 5 that I got to look at this morning with her because we were taking this stuff. And so it's fun to have that, but I'm not going and like posting it on there. And so I think there is a real desire to disconnect, and we're seeing these younger generations, I think, lean into that.
Absolutely. And what does it mean for brands? And that's
I
a
was just
bigger
gonna say, legacy brands, are
question.
they gonna be able to keep up with those trends? I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of intention though to kind of be up to date, to look for signals, be it on social media or on e-commerce portals through the review section, etc. But then a lot of times there's also been instances where consumers say something online, but they end up doing something otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And
What's
and
a good
that's
example of
what.
that? What's a good example of that you've encountered?
So what we have seen, this was in ice cream category. Okay, I can again, one of the leading brands. What we figured out was a lot of consumers looked for indulgence, but with health benefits. I mean, ice cream as a category is all about indulgence, right? You enjoy the whole feeling around it, and you don't really think about the amount of calories that you're uh, sort of uh,
If you do, you'd explode.
exactly right. So, and I'm referring to 2-3 years back. People were confined to their homes, but then those were some occasions that they always wanted to enjoy, right? And so they used to visit these ice cream parlors, used to have some of these really nice boutique flavors that used to come from these parlors. And the big brands, they were eyeing for those premium parlors and then trying to figure out what are those emerging ingredients, flavors that we can probably have produced for mainstream audience, right? So there was one thing around flower-based flavors because you have always had fruit-based flavors in ice cream. Like for example, strawberry, mango. These are all flavors that all of us are used to having, right? But but from there, things have moved a level further. Now, in some of these boutique parlors, you'll see flower-based flavors.
What, like shortbread cookie or like gooey butter cake or something like that?
Yeah, it would be a proper. You'd have a cone coming out of it. You have different formats in which it can be given to you, tub, etc. But there are lavender-based ice creams, for
Gotcha.
example,
Yeah. Okay.
right? And then there's this specific.
You
Uh,
said floral. I thought flower. I don't know.
oh, okay,
More
okay, okay.
floral. Yeah, yeah. Lavender.
Yeah,
It's a very. I think
yes,
I've seen beers come out in pickle flavor.
yes, that's a big trend.
Yeah. Oh, huge,
So
huge trend.
it's a huge trend. Pickle, it's across chips. It's across. Uh, in fact, alcohol is one industry where they are not just going after that; they're going after trends which originate from the eastern side of the world, right? So there is this always a scenario where you see trends moving from one part of the world to the other. Like I'm from India, I see a lot of trends coming in from Mexico and
Mm.
likes of those countries, Latin America, uh,
I've seen a lot of
Korea.
like Asian flavors come into. I love
Yeah,
making cocktails, and so I've got
yeah,
a on my phone. I've got a whole browser window that's like 80 different drinks.
right,
I can't make them all in one day, just to be clear. So it's like
right,
I go through them and I make them. My wife's like, "Yeah, I like them," or whatever. And I've seen lots of recipes that are like a pandan simple syrup. That's
right.
never would have been something that I would have thought, but it's like you start to take these interesting flavors and infuse them into things and just experiment with them, and it seems like there's more of an openness towards experimenting with new flavors versus the traditional
True.
flavors. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, because and not just that, right? In India, as I was mentioning, we today Chipotle has become a big trend in
Okay,
India.
interesting.
Right? Jalapeno is another. Again, from trends traveling from one side to other. But I'll just give you this one example of how this happens in personal care industry. So in the personal care industry, especially in face creams and the likes of it, you'd see that. clean beauty as a concept originates from Korea and comes towards the West. When you think about ageless beauty, which is anti-aging and any of those trends, you'd see them originating from somewhere in Japan and then moving again Western side. If you think about derma related beauty, there are a lot of brands which focus on uh, specific medicinal benefits when it comes to face care as well, right? So notch higher, uh, used by recommended by a lot of medical professionals as well. Those kind of trends would typically originate from somewhere in Europe. So when big brands look for inspiration ideas, they would typically seek for inspiration from these places, and they would not just look at it from a what kind of content is being written online, but they would also see what kind of content is being watched, consumed online, right?
Hmm.
So we're talking about specific TV shows, you're talking about specific movies that are talking about specific trends, YouTube creators, nano influencers who are recommending uh, uh, specific type of flavors or fragrances. All of that is being looked at. Now, of course, there's a lot of tables through which this has to go, and by the time you do that, you basically lose that trend.
Yeah.
But for a small emerging company, they act on that fairly quickly,
Oh, you
right?
can
And that's the difference
go to
between the two.
market so
Yeah.
much quicker as a new brand or just
Yeah.
smaller brand because you have more
Yeah.
agility.
Yes. And now, not it doesn't just end there. We talked about how from innovation to supply chain and to marketing things move, right? If you think about the history, brands always had two things very common. One, they had a really amazing product, and then they knew how to market it really well. So most of the CPG brands that we are talking about, the likes of Unilever, P&Gs, etc., you'd find most of them spending the highest in terms of advertisements, not just on your above the line, below the line channels, but also the likes of Super Bowl. You'll often see them, right? PepsiCo has been a long-standing partner to the game in itself, and this is how they have ensured that they grab maximum eyeballs. But now things are slowly changing because earlier you just used to have a really solid relationship with one of the big box retailer like a Walmart or a Target, and then you own one of the media channels, you're good. You already have shown your product to millions and billions of people, and then you have also ensured that wherever these guys go, you place your product there, which is the Walmarts and Amazons of the world. But today,
That's a very
you know,
linear way of
yes,
looking at things how it used to
yes,
be.
right? But today, these new brands, you and I should continue that discussion of launching our own brand.
Yeah, yeah, for
But
sure.
if let's, but let's say we launch our own face care brand, we don't have any barrier to entry because we can uh, we can launch a product on TikTok, we can launch a product on any of the our own website, just get a Shopify one, and then try and do something to show up when somebody searches for that specific pain point, or as we call it in our terms, job to be done, right? So if we are creating a product which addresses this one specific need of let's say your skin not getting oily when
Yeah.
you go outside, then that's a need somebody's looking for. And if we just go all in on that particular job to be done, I think we are more likely to show up. And when we show up, basically we have created an amazing product and we show up in those channels, and that's how we end up sort of selling our product. And if you see, some of these brands have taken distribution to a whole new level.
Yeah. Well, and then you bring in the bigger companies like I think it was Pepsi that bought Poppi.
Yes.
You
Correct.
they see that I'm guessing, I don't have data, but I'm guessing they were losing some share. And they're realizing that the trends are more health conscious in some areas. Whether that product truly provides the health benefits or not, and I'm not saying anything about Poppy, I'm just saying it could be just something that people like more. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's truly better for you. I mean, arguably, it's anything's going to be better than a Pepsi or a Coke. Let's just be
Yeah.
honest. Nobody needs 60 grams of just
Yeah.
straight sugar
Sugar.
water. But
Yeah.
regardless of the true health implications, it is arguably better, and people are wanting that more. And so now they're going and doing what we've seen bigger companies like P&G do, is these
Yeah.
acquisitions of these brands. Like P&G, probably a
Yep.
decade ago, purchased Native.
Yes.
They purchased Native, and it was probably less than, I think, 10 years ago, but maybe 5,
Yeah.
6 years
Yeah.
ago. But they purchased Native because they saw that emerging trend. They now
Yeah.
own several
Yeah.
more natural, new beauty healthcare brands because they
Yeah.
realize the importance of that. Now they're still gonna have the Olays and Ivories of the world that, people are still gonna buy and purchase, and maybe they're focusing more on like cost consciousness or whatever, but they realize that trend, so now they're acquiring to get that,
Yeah.
but to get that audience. But the problem with
Yeah.
that is you have an agile one, you have a founder like you and I
Yeah.
who care a lot about a specific thing. They're
Yeah.
gonna stay true to that mission,
Yep.
and they have the agility. When it becomes acquired by a big brand, therein lies a problem, which is you start to stray potentially from
Yeah.
the original reason for purchasing a product, and maybe you start to change the formulation, and then you start to alienate the customer base, and so you actually undo what you've done. And I think in some cases we've seen big brands. I want to say Pepsi maybe acquired a tea or a beverage company, and it seemed like they almost intentionally ran it to the ground. Like they bought it and then just dissolved it. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't take over share. So
Yeah.
like you start to lose the mission that was
Yeah.
originally there with those new brands.
No, it's absolutely true. And just on that, there are two parts to it. One is companies often uh, not able to identify what the demand space is, though they get these exercises done from top management consultancies, uh, and they think that they address and they know it all in terms of addressing these occasions. But a lot of times it has happened that there is this emerging occasions that people that or the consumers want, which big brands don't have. If I give an example, just think about healthy alternatives. Almost everyone in the world knows that I need to make my portfolio healthy and all that. But what do you make? So I'll give you two examples of products that you would not think otherwise, if you're a PepsiCo or a similar company like them, right? Liquid IV. Have you heard of this brand, Liquid
Oh,
IV?
yes, I've heard of Liquid IV.
Just basically, it has a whole pack of essential nutrients that you should, have almost every day, right? Now, believe it or not, that's $1 billion brand, and Unilever acquired it. That's a different thing, and it's growing. It's still growing. So the way how I've seen some of the companies have maintained that growth for these emerging brands is let them be in their own, right, isolation, and help them with some kind of distribution muscle that you have, because I'm sure they have been doing something right, and you let them grow in their own trajectory, which is in most cases double digit or triple digit growth,
Yeah.
but support them with the distribution muscle and the negotiation muscle that you have,
And finance too.
and
But
finance.
yeah,
That's all, right?
finance negotiation, because now you're under their
Yes,
terms, and it's like, oh, we're not going to
exactly.
deal with 4% on freight. We're actually going to get 1.5 because that's what our
Yes.
general contract
Yeah,
is. And they've got leverage because they've got all these other brands that are behind them, and the
exactly.
retailers can't do anything about it because they're like, we don't want to lose this big brand, but we also don't want to lose this new emerging brand that's making a lot of money.
Exactly. So that is how I've seen, and just to on that Poppy example, same concept. They want to have healthier alternatives, but where do you think about it? So prebiotics as a concept has increased quite a bit in there,
Oh yeah.
right? So that is where you had Poppy making its mark. Now, uh, I don't know if their drinks are they're healthier than what uh, Coke provides or Pepsi provides, but it's definitely something that a lot of consumers are looking for today. They're looking for prebiotics, not just with Chobanis of the world. They're
Yeah.
looking at
How
cross
can I get
categories.
this? So, well, that's like why protein, People are like, well, how can I
Yes.
get protein? Which is like
Yes.
arguably eat some chicken or some beef. That's going to be the best way to get protein. But if you're looking for alternative methods, not just protein powder, like a gym guy or gym girl might do. Yeah, where else can I get it? Well, I'm going to put it in a bar. I'm going to put it in chips. I'm going to put it in ice cream. I'm going to put it in cookies. I'm going to put it in cake. All the things that are now you
Yeah.
thought were indulgences and they maybe
Yeah.
taste like it, but they're actually better for you. So you're
Yes.
solving this thing that maybe people even think they thought was something that needed to be solved. But it's like I can get
Yeah.
my protein and or maybe it's just they didn't think about it in that way, but you're solving someone getting the right nutrients, but also a craving that they might have for something. And
True.
arguably, Poppy stuff is way better than I like Poppy
Yeah.
stuff. It's arguably way better than Pepsi or Dr Pepper or Coke. But also, they've now started to change in their focus. Yes, is better for you, but it's also way less about prebiotics or probiotics, and it's about making soda fun again. What does that mean? I don't know. It could be different for every person, but
Yep.
that's what they're leaning into, and I think that is something that is probably creative that has come from a Pepsi that's like, "We need to market this really well," and that is something that I don't think Poppi could have done. They could have done on their own, but I think having that big brand capability of like, "Let's think big. What do we do to draw people in? Let's simplify it." There's great scientific stuff behind it. People can read that and find that on the can, but how do we get people in? Like, making soda fun again. Well, I kinda knew soda was out. Well, how is this fun again? Now I'm intrigued. Boom, now you maybe
Yeah.
get new customer acquisition.
True. True.
You had said
No, that.
something about ice cream and how people did something different on they said something online, but then they did some things
Oh
in
yeah.
store. I don't think we ever got to that point. I'm really curious to know, what was
Yeah.
it that you were referring to?
So yeah, people were looking for different, again, health benefits along with indulgence,
Mhm.
and this is 3 years back. Now, when it came to purchasing products, and you can look at or compare that data with the likes of Nielsen and Sekana, who has trackers installed in all of these leading retailers, you found out that a lot of them still go after products which appeals to the masses, and that's based on their looks. Because it's an impulse category. You saw something on the shelf
Yeah.
which has really attractive packaging, you just go and grab that, right? So there is a movement of consumption, which is a very big uh, aspect of decision making for consumers here. And then you also saw how the convenience of having that ice cream played a slightly bigger role than actually what you are having. Because oftentimes when you have these uh, ice cream bars, you don't want the the last bit of it sort of drooling down on your and stuff like that, right? So those became more important drivers of purchase than actually changing what was there in the ice cream. Of course, a lot of times you make the decision based on that, but if you have to choose between the two, you often choose convenience and the attractiveness of the packaging, and hence we did a lot of work around changing the packaging design, making it more appealing with some of the healthier alternatives that can be uh, tied in with there.
Interesting.
Of course, consumers' behavior changes, and this was a specific instance of the UK market uh, reacting in a certain way. It
Okay.
might not be the same everywhere, and hence for large brands, this is also an important learning that we have also figured out, that you'll have to treat every market as different. Oftentimes the strength of the legacy brands is that they come up with a really amazing SOP, and then they sort of look to implement the same across every market.
Yeah,
And
that
this
one works.
is and yeah, and they sometimes fail to understand the nuances and almost takes it uh, as guaranteed that people would adapt to whatever they produce, whatever they push
Yeah.
across markets. Those days are gone, because now, no matter whichever second world or third world country you might be in, you have access to the internet. So you know exactly
Yeah, that's a
what
great point.
right? So
Yeah.
the aspirations are no lesser than any other country, and hence you know what am I missing out on, and hence you crave for those aspirations. It's either your parent brand which is giving me, or I'll seek the homegrown brand who probably is addressing my needs better than you, right? So that is the shift in mentality that a lot of markets are seeing, and large brands are realizing that, and hence now they are thinking about how do you segment these markets differently. Is it a category cross market? Is it a category cross market cross channel? Because again, depending on which channel you're purchasing that product from, your product also changes,
Well, there's
right?
a reason why just like you look at like food, there's a reason why Kit Kat has a matcha Kit Kat bar in
Yeah.
Japan and does
Yes.
not normally produce it on the shelves unless you're looking at like world market here in the States. Different
Yeah.
different food generally, different
Yeah.
flavors that are in the food, and they're therefore different just desire for other flavors. And so a matcha bar, while it would
Yeah.
sell crazy because that's huge in Japan, it's just not going to perform like it would here unless there is a huge trend and it continues to catch on and those taste profiles start to change for people. But that's like a 20-30 year thing. That's not
No,
a
but
2 year thing.
but the matcha one is interesting. As in, the Kit Kat bar is interesting because Japan has a traditional. There's a tradition behind that. It's not just about one flavor. You probably get about 40 or 50 different variations of Kit Kat in Japan.
Oh yeah. I mean there's a
Mm.
I think there's like an all pink one too. And
Yes. So there is a tradition behind that which is very Japan specific, and hence Nestle sort of rode into onto that trend. And that's what I'm talking about,
gotcha. Okay.
how
Yeah.
different countries have taken that as an example. I think there's a similar one for KFC as well. There's one uh, very either it could be a religious day or maybe some really important day of the year in Japan, where people started promoting KFC.
It's it
And KFC started
it's Christmas.
promoting
It's Christmas Day.
it. Could be Christmas
'Cause
Day. Exactly.
I just had my, like, company Christmas holiday party, and that was one of the trivia questions was, what company or what country consumes KFC on Christmas Day? And someone on my
Oh,
team got it
uh,
right. Someone on
yes.
my team is from the Philippines. He's like, "The Philippines, of course." And this other woman was like,
Yes.
"No, it's Japan." And it was Japan.
Yes, yes. So that is how different countries have played onto the traditions, and then obviously made themselves more prominent in those countries, right? And they've not tried to replicate that in across other countries, but there are, I would say, flavors that somebody like Lay's has launched in India, which you'll only get in India.
Yeah, what are those flavors? I'm curious.
So in India, we use a lot of spices,
Yeah.
masalas,
Is
as we
there a
call it.
garam masala at Lay's?
There is a masala
Shut up,
Lay's.
there is? Oh my gosh,
There
that
is.
sounds amazing.
Yes. Growing up, I used to think of three variants of Lay's. One was American onion, which was the green. One was classic yellow, and then we used to call it blue Lay's, which is masala
Oh
Lay's.
man, that's blue
Yeah.
Lay's, that's funny.
And then there is, by the way, a whole new category called kurkure, because Indians like a lot of crispiness, and it's a slightly different version of. I would think of it as pretzels maybe, but
Okay.
maybe a softer version of pretzels that you get
But
in
it's got
India.
more texture, it's crunchy.
Yes, exactly, and
Okay,
masala on it.
and it's got
S
masala. Of course it does, of course it does.
Yeah. So that's kurkure. You can look it up. And it's a pretty big category, and I didn't know till the point that I started consulting PepsiCo that it was one of the other brands that they had.
Oh, man, that must have been so cool to, like, how
Yeah.
full circle to, like, grow up with the, um, the the masala Lay's and then find this cool curry that's out there. Man, that's so cool. Kaushik, if people want to find out more, we've covered a lot of ground, and we actually have to really get down to work on starting this brand, so we got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
people wanna find out more about what you're doing, where can they go?
So I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. They could hit me up over there, and I'm generally I respond to all my linked messages. So
Wow.
yeah, happy to please reach
Would
out
they
and
maybe
happy
find you in the bottom of a blue Lay's bag? Is that possible?
could be.
You never know.
I've changed a lot of flavors in the last couple of
Okay.
years. I've been treating myself with a lot of jalapeno-based flavors. So
Oh,
kettle
okay.
is that I've just loved, and
Man,
yeah.
almost every single like dinner at my house, we've got jalapenos on.
Oh, is it?
You know,
Okay.
it's like crazy. And my wife had a jalapeno plant last year that was really great. The one this year that she bought was not so great. And my brother-in-law got one too, and he was like getting all these jalapenos, and he's like, "Man, I had to throw like 20 of them out." My wife and I were like, "What? You threw out those jalapenos? We would have eaten them all in a week. Like, don't ever do that again." We reprimanded him. I haven't received any jalapenos, so I'm kind of curious to know if he's still throwing them out or not, but I'll have to check in with him on that. You heard it here first, people. If you want to find out more about what Kaushik is doing, just go to LinkedIn. He says he responds to all his DMs, so flood him with DMs and see if he's actually true to that. To that, I believe he probably is. But that's it, people. We don't have anything else for you, so time to go. Bye bye. Does Amazon feel complex and fragmented? Well, here at Cartology, we make Amazon simplified. Hi, I'm Michael Marr, Chief ID Officer and owner of Cartology, a full-service Amazon agency. We take extreme ownership in the work that we do. We get results, and we provide a holistic end-to-end service so that you can win on Amazon. That means we create strategy, and then we actually go and execute on it and handle everything else in between. If you want a partner who's truly accountable and that you can trust, look in the show notes and get our details and reach out to us. We want to talk with you. Thanks again for spending your time here, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Longer Game.